On August 3, 2016, one of the most popular, Emirates Flight 521, was a scheduled international passenger flight from Thiruvananthapuram, India, to Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It is a flight that was supposed to be just another day in the skies, but quickly turned into a scene of chaos and confusion. Imagine boarding a flight, expecting nothing more than a routine journey to your destination. But what if, in the final moments before landing, something goes horribly wrong, and the plane gets crashed? In this episode, we dive into the story of what caused a seemingly routine landing to spiral out of control, leading to a catastrophe that no one on board could have foreseen. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling details of that fateful day. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 777-731H. It was equipped with two Rolls-Royce Trent 892 engines and was 13 years old, having made its first flight on 7th of March 2003. It was delivered to Emirates on the 28th of March 2003 and had logged more than 58,169 flight hours in 13,120 cycles before the crash. The captain was a 34-year-old UAE national who had been with Emirates since March 2001 and had logged 7,457 flight hours, including 5,123 hours on the Boeing 777. The first officer was 37-year-old Australian national Jeremy Webb, who had been with Emirates since October 2014 and had 7,957 flight hours, with 1,292 of them on the Boeing 777. It was carrying a total 282 passengers and 18 crew. Out of 282 passengers, 200 were Indian. On the day of the incident, August 3, 2016, the weather was clear, but the wind direction was occasionally changing. This could be largely due to the location of Dubai, a sandy city situated by the sea. During the day, the temperature exceeds 45 degrees Celsius, while it's much cooler near the sea. When the cool sea breeze blows toward the airport, it encounters the hot air, causing a change in wind direction near the airport. The pilots made a shocking revelation. They said they were landing perfectly, but suddenly the wind changed direction and the plane overshot the runway's touchdown point. They soon realized they wouldn't be able to stop the plane before the runway ended, so they decided to go around. The captain pressed the takeoff, go-around switch, which should have increased the engine's power automatically, but nothing happened. Their attention was focused on the runway, and they assumed the toga switch was working, but the truth was, it was idle. The toga switch has several modes. When engaged, it sets the plane's auto throttle to go-around mode, adjusting the engine thrust as needed. But in this case, the switch didn't work. Why? The answer could only be found in the plane's flight data recorder. Finally, after a long investigation that took about 3.5 years, the final report was released on February 6, 2020. Let's walk through the sequence of events to understand where things went wrong. When the plane was landing, the wind was blowing from behind, pushing the plane forward and increasing its speed. As a result, it crossed the runway's threshold line where it should have landed. The plane's sensors detected that it should have landed by now, but it was still in the air, triggering an alarm. The pilots decided to go around, and the ATC cleared them to climb to 4,000 feet. But just then, the wind direction suddenly changed, blowing from the front, slowing down the plane and preventing it from taking off. During this time, the plane's main landing gear briefly touched the runway. The plane's computer sensed that the plane had landed and put the auto throttle into idle mode to prevent the speed from increasing, so the plane could stop. But the pilots, intending to go around, pressed the toga switch. However, they were unaware that the plane's landing gear had touched the runway and that the auto throttle had gone into idle mode. The toga switch is meant to be pressed when the plane is still airborne to initiate a go-around, but since the landing gear had touched down, the switch didn't work. The pilots, unaware that the plane had touched down, did not manually increase the thrust. By the time they realized this, it was too late. The plane rapidly lost altitude and eventually crashed. It's not the crash that kills people. It's the fire that breaks out afterward that claims passengers' lives. But who will make those passengers understand this? Anyway, this accident happened right at the airport, where firefighters are on duty 24/7 to fight fires. So, just 60 seconds after the crash, they were there to extinguish the fire. A passenger on the plane started recording a video with his phone as he was exiting the aircraft. In this video, it's clearly visible how people were prioritizing their luggage over someone's life. About 9 to 10 minutes later, all the passengers had exited the plane. Only the captain and flight attendants remained, ensuring that everyone had gotten out safely and that no one was left injured inside. Meanwhile, the fire continued to spread and eventually reached the center fuel tank of the plane. About 70% of the plane's fuel is stored in the wings, but there's also a fuel tank in the plane's body that holds the remaining 20 to 30% of fuel. This tank is called the center fuel tank. If the wing's fuel tanks catch fire, there's still a chance for survival because everyone is inside the fuselage. However, if the fire reaches the plane's center tank, the consequences can be catastrophic. This is exactly what happened with Flight 5221. As soon as the fire reached the center fuel tank, it exploded with a loud bang, breaking through the plane's roof. At this moment, only one pilot and a flight attendant were inside the plane, and they were injured in the explosion. Outside the plane, firefighter Mohammed Hassan was seriously injured by the explosion and lost his life. 7 other firefighters were burned due to the intense heat, slowing down the firefighting process. The fire was so intense that it took 16 hours to extinguish. At the same time, the temperature at Dubai Airport was around 45 degrees Celsius, adding to the difficulty. Finally, after 16 hours, everything was under control. In this incident, 38 people were injured, and firefighter Mohammed Hassan lost his life. Following the accident, the airport was closed for 5.5 hours. Many flights were diverted to nearby airports such as Abu Dhabi International, Sharjah International, and Al Maktoum International. The closure led Emirates and flydubai to cancel several of their flights and also affected 23,000 passengers at the airport. Dubai International Airport resumed operations at 18:30 local time at restricted capacity, using only one runway and maximizing the use of the runways at Al Maktoum International Airport. Arriving aircraft were prioritized over departure flights. The damaged runway was repaired and reopened at 17:45 local time on 4th of August, and the airport resumed normal operations on 6th of August, 72 hours after the accident. On 11th August, 8 days after the crash, Emirates provided US $7,000 in compensation for each of the 282 passengers, comprising $2,000 for loss of luggage and personal effects, and $5,000 for any other damages each had suffered. Emirates changed the flight number of the Thiruvananthapuram to Dubai service to EK523. That's all for today's breakdown of the Emirates Flight 521 incident, a routine landing that turned into a nightmare, leaving us with critical lessons about the unpredictability of aviation. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue exploring these complex cases. Join us next time as we uncover more stories from the skies. Until then, keep watching and keep learning.